Hello and welcome everybody to a new Sabian Masterclass series. Today with our good friend, great educator and teacher. Welcome back, Louis Sellers. Hello
Hi,
Louis, how are you
Christian. All
doing?
right. Very good, thank you. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thanks for being back. Great to join us with a new lesson today. So topic today is understanding linear drumming in odd times. So can you give us a little bit more details about this, please?
Absolutely. So, obviously, thanks for having me back again. Some viewers may remember I was doing a live stream in April, and I think it's one of the first live streams that Sabian were doing. And the topic that I chose to cover was simply called Understanding Linear Drumming, which was very much a 101 course on what linear is and how anyone, whether you're a beginner or advanced player, could get some use out of some linear exercises. So I wanted to keep the linear theme going with today's class, not only because it's a fun topic, it's personally one of my most enjoyable topics that I like to play and teach. So linear drumming, of course, means only one part of the drum kit at any one time, which makes the concept sound quite simple, quite basic, but we're giving it a twist by checking out some unique odd time signatures such as 5/4 and 7/8 and a few others. So that's what people can expect to see today. I said to you a moment ago, Christian, it's a relatively self-indulgent lesson, but we're not going to apologise for that because it's going to be really good fun, and I'm hoping that a lot of people can get something from it.
Great. So looking forward to that. I make space on the screen, and we're gonna come back in roughly about half an hour for the question and answer session. Okay.
Yeah,
So see you in
absolutely.
a
Thank you
bit.
very much. So yeah, welcome guys. My name's Lewis Sellers and I'm an educator and someone who likes to do session drumming. I'm based in the UK, Andover to be precise, if you guys know where that is. And one of the first things that I want to throw out to you is I'd love to know where you're from and where you're watching from. And secondly, just because we're here, because we enjoy Sabian cymbals, it'd be really nice to know what your favourite Sabian cymbal is. So leave those in the comments section, and me and Christian will keep an eye on those, and we'll do a little bit of a Q&A at the end. So, as I said, today is about linear drumming, but specifically in odd time. So even though conceptually this works incredibly well in 4/4, we're going to be taking it just that little bit of a step further into some odd time signatures, which I know can be a little bit daunting for some players, or it can be incredibly exciting as well as you venture into a more unknown area of music. So one of the like disclaimers I want to say is, because it might come up later on the questions and answers, is why a drummer might want to do this, and why is it musically relevant. And really the disclaimer is this doesn't necessarily have to be musically relevant. And what I mean by that is this doesn't have to fit in a song per se. A lot of this is to do with improving your coordination as a player, improving your imagination, the way that you visualize your drums, improving the way that you can move around the drums, your muscle memory, how your mind works when you're learning patterns. It actually exercises that bit a huge amount. Of course, we do want it to sound good in a musical context as well, but there's no shame in doing it just for the love and actually enjoying a good bit of linear. So, just to start us off then, so we know that linear is only one part of the kit at any one time, versus unison, which is where you stack instruments. So if I just show you a couple of unison moves. And then I'll show you a few linear. So obviously very basic examples of unison versus linear. And we're going to see those as opposite views on the drum kit, opposite ways of using coordination. So here's why I like linear. Only one part of the kit at any one time sounds relatively easy until you start building bigger combos and bigger musical phrases. So that's really where we're going to be getting our ideas from today. So if we, one thing that me and Christian forgot to mention is there is actually a PDF that goes with today's class. I like to offer you guys PDFs so you can follow along with the notation. So I believe it is in the live comments. There's like a URL at the top where you can actually download a PDF and follow along with me. So I'm hoping you guys can do that. Otherwise you might have a little bit of a hard time following this. But either way, it should be still quite fun. So we're going to be checking out 5/4 to begin with, linear and 5/4. And maybe more specifically, we're going to be checking out how like 16th notes work in 5/4. So if we think about 16th notes in 4/4 time, but we know that we can have 4 lots of 4, which is 16. And there's going to be a bit of a mathematical emphasis on today's class, but again, that's good. We're flexing our mind when it comes to learning patterns. So when it comes to 5/4, you're actually playing 20 16th notes. So it's grown by another 4, which is relatively exciting because obviously it expands the bar. You can do more linear licks with it. So we're going to check out pattern 1. And the way I've generally formatted this lesson is that we'll be doing 3 bars up front of some kind of groove that has potentially some linear elements. And then we're going to do a 1 bar fill-in, which is kind of like the trick bar, or the most exciting part where we're flexing our linear as best as possible. So I'm going to show you this drill first, and I'm just going to put it so you can see both views. So sometimes the overhead cam can work really well for this kind of stuff, so I've got it there for you guys. So let's check out the very first bar. So it's a cool sounding beat. Yes, it does work in 5/4 time. And probably the most interesting part of this is what's happening in the middle, which is a left, right foot, left, right foot, left, right foot. That's what's happening off of the hi-hat and snare. Or occasions it could be the other way, which is right, left foot. So the groove has some linear elements, but really that's just to allow us to get into the linear filling, which is what I'm going to show you now. So I think this will be most effective if you watch it from the overhead cam. So if we look at the bar 2, you've got a phrasing which is moving in 5s, which is kind of cool. So mathematically speaking, you've got 4 lots of 5s, which equals 20, which is what we're looking for. So this is how it would sound. So what's happening here then? So yes, it's all linear, only one part of the kit at once, but what we're doing is we're doing these little portions in 5s, which makes it a lot easier to follow, especially if you're a newer drummer. You can break 20 down into 4 lots of 5s. So the first 5 is simply foot, right, left, and I'm moving it from the snare to the high tom, back to the snare. Quite a simple concept. And then just for a bit of fun, there's no problem adding a few rudiments into linear drumming. So what I'm doing at the very end, off of tom 2 and tom 3, I'm going right, left, left. And I think that's most obvious on the overhead cam. And hopefully you can see it does make this really, really interesting pattern, which I suppose if you're not focusing well enough, it's very easy to trip up. I'm sure there'll be a few moments where I trip up as well. So that is incredibly cool for just your mental ability, how your muscle memory is building on the drums. I'm now going to show you it together so you can hear 3 bars up front, plus the linear fill, which is bar 4. I'll start slow. So I'm hoping you guys dig that. That is a really, really nice example of how it can fit into 5/4 time. Now let's move on. We're going to learn another linear fill-in in 5/4. So we're going to keep the drum beat the same. That's bar 3, and we're going to loop it 3 times again. But if you look at bar 4 now, we're going to create a slightly different combination here. So we've got foot, foot, right, left, right, left. We're going to repeat that again, foot, foot, right, left. And then I'm going to throw a sextuplet in, okay? So let's actually play this first. Let's go straight for the fill-in. So how is this one working in 5/4? Let's check it out really briefly. So we've got 6 16th notes, another 6 16th notes, that comes to 12. Then we've got a quarter note's worth of sextuplets, okay? So a quarter note of sextuplets is equivalent to 4 16th notes. So we've gone from 12 up to 16 now. Hope you guys are keeping up with the maths. And then at the very end, I'm just going flam foot as 8th notes. And we know that 2 8th notes are the same amount as 4 16th notes. So we've gone from 16 now up to 20. So yeah, music with linear can get very mathematical quickly. I don't think it's hard maths, but it can get mathematical quite quickly. So that's how we're adding up to the 20 16th notes that we need. I'll play it just again for you guys. So let's try and play it all in context now, okay? Let's check it out. Okay, so if you're looking to compose your own linear fill-ins in 5/4, you could just use the basic template of try and add up to 20 of something, 20 16th notes. It doesn't matter how you convert around the kit, just make sure that you're always adding up to that magic number there. So I'm hoping that you guys understand it, and of course, do ask any questions that you have along the way. I'm keeping an eye on the comments as well. And as I say, it's really nice to know where you guys are watching from, and be sure to write your favorite Sabian cymbal in the comments just as a talking point, because that's why we're here, aren't we? For the love of great cymbals. So let's move on then. So we're going to look at now some linear exercises in 7/8. So let's try and figure out how many or how much room we've got in 7/8, and we'll try and relate it to 16th notes as well. But 7/8 quite literally means 7/8 notes per bar. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. That's how 7/8 works. So if you want to expand that up to 16th notes, you just double that top number. So 7 becomes 14. We're allowed 14 16th notes. And that is the magic number that we now need to work to, is 14. So we're going to check out a drum beat. The way this one works is we've got a 4, a 4, a 4, and a 2. Okay, so we got to 12 and we added 2. There's 14. So let's check this one out. This is bar 5. As for the hand order, it really doesn't matter what hand order you use. I say to students, like, try and just find the hand order that works for you. I happen to be going foot, left, right foot, right, left, foot, left, right, left. I'm just keeping it swaying from side to side because that's how I like to feel it as most. Oh, Adele says, will you have a PDF of these fills? Yes, so there is a PDF right at the top of the live comments that Sabian have posted. There's like a little tiny URL that you can click so you get the PDF, just so you guys can follow along. Adele, let us know if you have any trouble with that, because otherwise it won't make sense, a lot of the stuff I'm saying. Anyway, let's move on then. So, if you look at bar 6 now, we've got the fill-in, the juicy bit. And the way I've composed this one is I've done a 7 and a 7, which makes sense because it adds up to 14. Boom, you're in 7/8 time by default. So, the way this one works is it goes right, left, right, left foot, which is 7 hits. So we know that's going to work. We have to trust in it that it's going to add up to 14 if we play this lick twice. A couple of other extra bits as well. So when you're learning linear, you don't necessarily have to be concerned of dynamics initially. You just want to be able to play it flat so that it feels good for your body. But after a while, if you want to improve your linear playing, you could start to add in ghost notes, which is what's happening here. So my left hand is playing a very small roll, but an important roll, but it's just playing really, really softly on the snare. So let's check out the whole fill-in now because there's a floor tom to find. So as you can see there, I was flirting between the snare and the right hand. The snare and the tom 3 with my right hand. So it doesn't really matter how you play this one as long as you're adding up to the number 14. So from now on, I'm going to go snare, floor tom, that's how it's going to work. So let's try and play all of this together then. 3 bars up front, and then the 4th bar becomes this cool fill-in that's basically a group of 7 and then another group of 7. Here we go. I like the sound of that one, that's pretty cool. And, you know, relatively simple in its construction. I don't think linear drumming has to be, like, hard to understand until you start playing it at a much faster pace than you get up to, you know, a more advanced player. And what's going through my mind when I'm playing that? Not a lot. Obviously, I'm very conscious that I'm giving you guys a masterclass. But other than that, I'm just trying to keep my mind as calm as possible because there's so many notes unfolding. And even though it's only one note at a time, when you're playing fast, that one note at a time can be quite tough because it's like it needs to be a really clean domino effect of all the notes coming together. And if one domino falls out of place, then, you know, the whole thing is ruined, which may happen today. Who knows? Let's see. I've not made an error just yet. We'll find out. So that's one example in 7/8, okay? And obviously the magic number is 14 in this case, 14 16th notes. Let's move on anyway. So if you now look at example bars 7 and 8, so this will be our 4th example, bars 7 and 8. We've got the same linear drum beat in 7/8 time, and then we've got a new linear pattern. So what we've got here, let's make this add up. So we've got one group of sextuplets. So we know that 6 sextuplets adds up to 4 16th notes, so we'll just call it 4 for now. Then we've got an 8th note and 2 16th notes. Well, we know an 8th note is 2 16th notes, so 2 plus 2 is 4, so that's brought us up to 8 16th notes so far. Then we've got another 4 16th notes, so that's 12 16th notes, and then we've got another 2 on the end, so it's gone from 12 up to 14. Wow, I hope you guys are keeping up when I describe it like that. Hopefully it makes sense, and of course you can reach out to me afterwards if you're like, whoa, hold on, I don't see how that adds up to 7 8. Let's check it out nice and slowly. I'll tell you what, I'll put the overhead cam on for this one so you can really see what's happening. Okay, so there's just 2 examples in 7/8 time. So if you're looking to make up a few of your own, then just use the number 14 as your number to work towards, especially if you're new to this concept. Just try and make up something that adds up to the number 14. Or if you really want to, make up something that's in 7 and then double it. Excellent, okay. Let's move on then. So, Sebas, you're saying you can't hear you. Is anyone else having any problems? Just let us know if anyone else is getting some audio problems as well, but I guess it's doing okay. Let's continue. All right, so the next time signature that we're going to look at is 9/8 time, which is relatively close to 7/8 time. It's just grown by 2/8 notes, 7 to 9. So let's interpret this one using 16th notes as a guide. So 9/8 simply means 9/8 notes per bar. So if you double that top number, 9 up to 18, you get to play 18 16th notes, okay? So let's learn the actual groove, because even the groove's a little bit naughty on this one and still incredibly linear. So this is going to be bar 9, everybody. Adele's saying she still can't find the PDF. Christian, maybe if you can just check that out, maybe someone could post it. There you go, it's just been posted on the screen so you guys can follow that and you'll have the PDF. So I'm going to play this groove for you first. It's ride cymbal, so I'm giving the ride a little bit more love right now. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that groove. So let's talk about what can be a bit frustrating about linear, because I have fond and not so fond memories of learning linear for the first time. So I remember learning linear when I was probably about 16 or 17 or so. And I found that learning linear was a little bit agitating because on the surface it seems really basic. You just follow a combination and then just play it back. So RL foot or RLL foot, whatever the linear lick might be, it sounds really obvious to play. But what I found is if you're building like a really complex pattern or something that's quite long, it's really easy to make mistakes if your body's trying to absorb the muscle memory. It's like you're too conscious of it, so you're so conscious that you make a mistake, analysis paralysis, that sort of thing. So what was funny when I was younger, I'd be learning these licks for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, being like, why isn't this working? And what would happen is I'd just take a break just for 5 minutes, come back on the kit, and then all of a sudden it's just feeling really, really good. It's almost like my muscle memory woke up. It's a really strange sensation. I'm sure that you guys have felt that when it comes to learning patterns, particularly linear, which is very specific and combo based. So if you are one of those people that's getting yourself frustrated, just first of all know that we've all been there. Secondly, just go for lots and lots of repetition. And finally, just enjoy the process. Like, try not to let it like agitate you. If it's taking a while, hopefully the risk reward will be quite strong. You'll be putting a lot of time into it and you'll get a very big rewarding sensation. And that's what I felt like. It was really weird. Learning linear was like tunnel vision all the time until I just relaxed, and then it became very like Zen-like, which is hopefully how I'm playing for you guys today. I'm trying not to think too much. I'm just trying to let it flow, and that is largely what's needed when you're learning linear, is to let it flow as nicely as possible. Give everything the right kind of spacing. So if you are one of those people, just hold on, keep playing. Sometimes it might take a week, sometimes it might take a month to truly get into a linear pattern. Or some of you might be lucky enough to pick it up in 10 minutes, whatever it is, enjoy that process. Now, we're going to learn a linear fill-in now in 9/8 time. So this is going to be bar 10, all right? I'll play it for you guys first, let's just hear it. All right, kind of cool, kind of manic. It's using like quite a wide angle on the kit. So let's check out what's happening here and let's reinforce why it works in 9/8 time. So if you're looking at bar 10, you might notice that under the notation, it's not only telling you the sticking and where the foot goes, but it's also showing you the grouping, which is that horizontal with the little vertical anchors. And what that's telling you is you're playing a linear lick that's worth 9, and of course you double it, which adds up to 18. So 9 plus 9, super basic on the maths, that is how it is working. So I'll play it slowly for you again, and this time, if you think you can count along, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's try it. So hopefully you can see that one, how that one is constructed. And it's simply right, left, right, left, right, left, foot, right, left. So it's almost like a 6 and a 3 is how I might see that. 6 hands and then foot, right, left to complete the 9. Okay, so let's try and put that all together then. So we're going to go back to bar 9. We're going to loop it 3 times. And then I'll try my best to pull off bar 10 as the fill-in. So there we go. There's that self-indulgent bit coming in again. But yeah, it's super good fun to play. Even if you never end up using a linear lick like that in a song, I don't think that's truly the purpose of today. It's about having fun and just waking up your body to the concept of linear. And of course, we're getting some odd time bonus here today. So we're gonna check out another fill-in 9/8 time. So we're gonna be looking here at bars 11 and 12. Bar 11 is the same as what we were just doing, using the bell of the ride. And then we're gonna learn a new linear lick, which is bar 12. Guys, hope you're enjoying this. Obviously, keep letting me know where you guys are from and if you're enjoying the class. And don't forget to leave your favorite Sabian cymbal in the comments, because we'll check them out later and we'll have a bit of a geek out. And you guys can ask any questions about what I'm using as well. So please introduce yourself and think of any questions, because there's going to be a Q&A at the end. Lovely. Okay, let's check out bar 12 then. So bar 12, how does this work in 9/8 time? So we've got 4/16 notes. Then we've got a bunch of sextuplets, which you know is also another 4/16 notes. We've got another batch of sextuplets, that's another 4/16 notes. That adds up to 12. And then we have 6/16 notes to see us out. 12 plus 6 is 18. So that's how all of that works out. Let's play it first. And I'm going to put you back on the overhead cam. I love visualizing linear like an overhead motion, like a bird's eye view. It's how I've always liked to learn, so hopefully you guys can as well. So if you're looking at bar 12, and I'll keep the overhead cam on for this, hopefully you're seeing that it just swirls around the kit and then comes back to the snare. So for me, that helps with my visualization. I'm seeing like a semicircle and then I'm returning to home base, which is the snare. And other than that, it's quite basic, this one. It's just cool how it adds up to 9/8. It's almost pre-calculated, this one, or preconceived. So we're going right, left, right foot, like a very, very basic linear lick. Right, left foot. Then we're doing an equally basic linear lick, which is right, left foot, foot. So that's a 6. We're doing the same thing down the toms, right, left foot, foot. And then when we get back to the snare, I'm doing a flam left, right, left. So I don't think that's terribly hard if you break it down into kind of like a 4, a 6, a 6, and then another 6, a slightly different pace. Watch again. So I almost feel like that one is potentially the easiest one on the PDF that you guys can download. But that's okay, like linear can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. So let's try and bring this together now then. So we're going to be doing here bar 11 and bar 12, and we're going to piece it together. Let's hear how it sounds. so many wires around at the moment. So, just going to pull it up on my laptop. So the final time signature that we're going to be looking at is something called 1516. Now, 1516 is perfect for what I'm trying to show you today, because I wanted to keep everything focused around the 16th note. So we're playing 15 of them. It's in the time signature. Literally 15 16th notes is how you decode that one. Now, what does that mean in 4/4 time? In 4/4 time, you normally have 16 16th notes. So when you're playing 15 16th notes, you're losing one, which sounds kind of easy on paper.
Sorry, Louis, to interrupt, but I think your speaking mic is turned off.
There we go.
Thanks.
Other people are there, they're like, Let me start that again. Sorry, thanks, Christian. So the last time signature that we're going to look at today is 1516. And if we briefly relate that to 4/4 time, in 4/4 time you can normally play 16 16th notes. So we're just losing one 16th note in order to turn it into this odd time signature. Now, that sounds really easy. You know, what's the harm? You just ditch one note at the end of a bar that we're all used to hearing. But it can be a little bit tricky, so I've made a couple of, again, preconceived ways of moving around the kit that guarantees you'll always hit the number 15. So, let's just pull it up on my laptop again. So we're going to go for the beat first. Now the beat, the way I've constructed this is it's pretty much like a beat in 4/4 time, but instead of doing 4 16th notes at the end, you just do 3, so it always like winds up being in this time signature. Let me show you. So in order to make that 15/16, instead of doing 4 notes at the end, I'm just doing 3, which is both right left, and then it whips you back round into that double bass. So that was bar 13, everybody, which really is just like a filler groove to get us ready for the linear lick. So if we look at bar 14 now, I'll quickly show you why this works in 15/16. So largely it's got a 4/4 mentality. We're just going for like 3 notes at the end instead of 4. So we're looking for foot left right. Now what's happening there is you've got 2 16th notes and an 8th note, so that adds up to the number 4, 4 16ths. Then we've got an 8th note and 2 16th notes, so again that adds up to 4 16ths if we sum that together, so we're up to 8. Then we've got another 4 16th notes, that adds up to 12, and then you're left with 3 at the end, which brings it to 12 to 15, okay? So that's how it works. I think hopefully it's relatively basic for you guys. Let's check it out. I'm going to put the overhead cam on for this one. So this is bar 14. So, again, very preconceived, just so we know it always adds up to the number 15. And that's absolutely acceptable, you know, if it's going to help you get on board with odd time. If you've just listened to 4/4 a lot in your life, it can be awfully tricky to get into the mindset of just losing 1 16th note. So hopefully that will help you guys get into this odd time signature. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play bars 13 and 14 together, just so you can hear the whole context. Hopefully you guys dig it. So there you go, guys. You can see that one come together. So yeah, like really nice way of getting into something as wacky as 1516. Okay, I've got one more example for you, and I'll say this again. Let us know where you guys are watching from, and just for fun, let us know what your favorite Sabian cymbal is, because it's just fun to have a little geek out about your favorite cymbals. So, and this is the place to do it, of course. So I've got one more drill for you guys, which is going to be bars 15 and 16. Ha! Check out how that works out. I did not do that on purpose. We're in 15-16 time. So bar 15 is the same beat that we were doing before, where you just get that random 3 at the end instead of a 4. And then we're going to look at bar 16 here, okay? So this is based upon some relatively easy linear licks, which is right, left foot, or right, left, left. I remember like learning linear for the first time, and those were like some of the original 16th note linear licks that you can do. Right, left foot, right, foot, left. We're then going to do that again, right, left foot. And then for our 3 at the end, we're going to do 2 32nd notes, which adds up to 1 16th note. And then we're going to do a 16th and a 16th. So if you're keeping track there, it's 4, 4, 4, and then 3 at the end. That's how this one is constructed. So hopefully you guys can see what's happening there, especially that very quick ending. Just know that 2 32nd notes adds up to 1 16th note, because I'm trying to keep everything relatable to 16th notes. So let's check out this whole scenario. It's going to be my last drill for you guys, so get your questions in now before I return to talk to Christian. So here we go, let's check it out. Getting pretty weird at the end, but hopefully you guys can see that. And of course, the magic formula to this is to just make up something that adds up to 15 in the end. So I'm hoping that you guys enjoyed that. It's the last exercise I have for you today. And I'm hoping that you guys got something from it today, because odd time can be a little bit tricky to get into if you've never done it before, let alone trying to pull off some weird linear licks along the way. So I'm hoping that this gets you a little bit of inspiration to want to try it yourself. And I'm sure it might come up later in a question, but I'll actually discuss how you could make up some of them just like I've done for you today. So hopefully Christian will come back into the scene.
I'm back here. Great.
Lovely.
Thanks, Louis.
Here we go. Just one. I had to make one error, didn't I? I've not putting the mic on.
Right, no problem. All good. All good. We have one question right here from Nathan about your hi-hats. Right. So what kind of hi-hats are those that you have?
I'm playing some bigger hi-hats today, despite how quick we were trying to do some of these linear licks. These are some 15-inch, if I just put you on the overhead cam, 15-inch HHX groove hats, and they come in a natural finish. And I rather like them. I think they're very, very nice. So that's what we're using today.
Great, absolutely. Especially natural finish. Great stuff.
I think I'm trying to be like pedantic and make sure all my cymbals are natural.
Okay. Got another question here about the right cymbal. Is it a 22-inch artisan,
Yeah.
medium or
So
light?
this is a me. Did the artisan ever do a medium light ride somewhere in the middle?
There's actually a medium version and a light version. Right? So
This one's the medium
the
version
medium.
then, and so it's a 22-inch artisan medium. It's like ultra complex. It's a lovely cymbal. Um, yeah, hopefully that's answered that one for you.
Absolutely. So we've got one question here about books and resources from for linear drumming. So what would you recommend actually to if you want to study further actually on that?
Absolutely. So as I said to you during the masterclass, I got into linear when I was about 16 or so. I was still like relatively young on the drums. I'd only been playing for about 5 years. And I just stumbled across this book. I cannot even remember how I stumbled across it or who recommended it to me. But it's called Linear Time Playing by Gary Sheffield. And you can probably tell like the era of this came out. I think it's like an 80s or a 90s publication. But this is without a doubt like the most enjoyable book I've ever tried to study. And it's rammed with lots of cool linear licks like we've just been learning today. Hopefully you can see through the stuff I've been giving you, it was heavily inspired by this book. Let's get it so it's not shining on the light. So linear time playing, that's one of the best resources you can get because the author takes you through the very, very basic concepts for absolute beginners. And then by the end of it, you're doing some incredibly complex stuff in odd time as well. As for other resources, I think linear is reaching an all-time high at the moment in popularity. So I only have to look as far as people such as Luke Holland and Matt Gasker to get my fix on linear drumming. More specifically, Matt Gasker released an incredibly good like tutorial or bunch of tutorials that you can buy or download called Mastering Time. And even though it's not specifically focused on linear across the board, there's tons and tons of really good linear licks that he's composed himself. So those are probably my two biggest inspirations for linear. It's Luke Holland and Matt Gasker, but there are tons and tons of players doing it. And I would also say a good resource is just trying to learn to do it yourself. So a lot of the time today I've said if you're doing something like 15, 16, just grab a piece of paper, write the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all the way up to 15, and just write a combination. It could say right, left, right foot, foot, right foot, foot, left, right foot. It could say anything you want, and that will allow you to make up a rather interesting pattern between, say, your snare drum and your bass drum. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question for you guys.
Great. So how would you implement actually cymbals or stacks, X hats, whatever, actually into linear grooves or linear exercises? So can you give
So
us some ideas about that?
yeah, so I think like conceptually or even philosophically, when someone's learning linear for the first time, particularly if you're a new drummer or even some of my new students, I try and get them to understand it just between two parts of the kit. So if we just take something like right, left foot or right, left, right foot, let's put it into 16th note world. Right, left, right foot. I'd actually just start it between the snare and the kick first, like this. So if that's the genesis of your linear pattern, you could then start to think about how you want to might move your hands, how you want to orchestrate the pattern. So if I just give you an example of how that might go, how we'd incorporate something like the hi-hat, I could go right, left, snare, foot, right, left, snare, foot, like this. Take it one step further, all hi-hats to begin with, then I'll throw that in at the end and it'll sound like a drum beat. So that's how you could, very easily incorporate something like the hi-hat, is just sub a few of the snare drums for hi-hats. And trust me, you'll make some very weird and displaced patterns. But then if we talk more specifically about what's around me, so it's strategic. I've got two splashes here and here. I've got a stack just underneath the ride. If I just move the ride up, you can see there's a stack there. You've got the ride, you've got the bow of the ride, the bell. You've also got a china if you wanted, which you can just about see here in the corner. So let's use an example. So if I go to one of the examples that I did, which I think is bar 10, it's a 9 and a 9. So I was like, okay, how can I spread that around the kit? Because this is what it sounded like originally just on the snare. So to create more of a wider angle on this one, I'm going to use the ride and the hi-hat, and they're playing in tandem like this. And then you keep going down that rabbit hole, just exploring lots and lots of different combinations that you can make. So one thing I wanted to show before Christian asks another question is I'll incorporate the stack, because if you're talking about like the tone, if you're chasing a particular tone with a linear lick, let's say maybe you're playing in more of a hardcore band, a hardcore setting where stacks are very welcome at the moment. Let's do something between the hi-hat and the stack. And I tell you what, let's put it on the overhead cam for this so you can see what's happening. Again, it's really good for visualization. Let's check out that same pattern, but using the hi-hat and the stack instead of the ride. So that is a couple of different ways of how you can incorporate your cymbals into linear, and anything goes. I'd encourage you to have a lot of fun with this, even if you don't think it's musically appropriate for the band or the recording session that you're in. Be curious and have some fun around the kit.
Great, thanks. So there's a question from Condor about the whole cymbal setup. Like, can you give us some more details about the whole kit that you're using?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take you through my setup so you guys can check it out. I've been a Sabian fanatic for a very long time, so I've got some real gems on the kit today. So I'll put you on the split so you can see what is on here. So we've got the 15-inch groove hats, that's HHX. I'll go for the crash next. So this one is a unique one. This is a 18-inch extreme crash HHX, but it's unique in the sense of it has those ISO holes around the edge, which was introduced in an AAX line a couple of years back in the Cymbal Vote. So when I visited the Vault in Canada a couple of years ago, I said to the guys, could you make me a crash of the HHX line that has the ISO holes? So that's that one. I think that's probably my favorite cymbal. Might come back to that one later. If we go for the ride next, so the Artisan medium ride, 22-inch, natural finish. Over here, which you can just about see on the overhead, is the 19-inch equivalent of this one. So it's a 19-inch extreme crash, but it doesn't have the ISO holes. Again, absolutely beautiful cymbal. Go for the China. I've got the 18-inch HHX Chinese. I think that's the only, other than the Zen China, it's the only China that they do in the HHX line, I believe. So that was nice. Let's go for more of the specifics or the effects ones. So this one I'll actually pick up. So this is another custom one that I had made at the Vault. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Christian, when I say this, but I think you can order these types of cymbals through Custom Shop. So when I was at the Vault, I wanted the Duo Splash, which is what this is. This is an 8-inch hand-hammered Duo Splash, but it has the air holes in it, which they introduced in the AAX Air Splash. So I've got an 8-inch and a 10-inch version, so they're pretty much matched cymbals. And then finally, we've got the stack, which is one of the nicest stack combos I've ever found. And it's one that I made up with the Sabian UK team, or it was recommended to me. The bottom is a brilliant AAX 16-inch ozone crash. And then on top of it, we've got a natural AAX Ozone Splash 12-inch. And the reason I really like this stack, I'm going to sound like really, really picky when I say this, but a lot of stacks, a lot of the time the cymbal edge is pointing upwards, so you're hitting like a cup shape, and it just absolutely kills the drumstick. I've gone through so many stacks and I've gone through so many sticks from not getting that angle just right. So the cool thing about this, if I lift up the ride a bit, you can see it. It's like a flat cymbal, so I can play on it, and it just doesn't tune my drumstick up. It's awesome. Plus, it's got a lot of bite to it as well. So there you go. There's my cymbal setup for today.
There's some great unique sounds. Especially love the 18-inch extreme ISO crash. That's a great combination.
I can't even remember why I wanted to get it as an idea. I think I just really like the idea of what the holes do to the cymbals, because I've always loved the Ozone. I think I was like, when the Ozone came out, I think I bought it within the first couple of months, like when Sabian dropped that cymbal, which was one of the first of that type of product. I think for Sabian was the AAX Ozone, or the hand-hammered HHX Ozone, maybe.
The Evolution Ozone,
that's
the 18-inch. Yeah.
So I remember buying that straight away, and the guy in the shop said to me, "What type of player are you?" And I said, "Oh, I mainly play rock." He says, "Oh no, this isn't the cymbal for you. Like, it's going to crack," thinking it would crack. And I've still got it now, and it hasn't cracked, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Right.
And I still use it now for stack combos as well.
Great.
So yeah, the ISO hole was like moving on with that theme, just letting the cymbal open up a little bit more and have a bit more air to it.
Yeah. And also what you said about, I mean, those splashes, and you can actually design your cymbal on Sabian Custom Shop on the website, right? So you can go there and design your cymbal. And that's also a great stack combination with the two Ozones, with the Ozone 12-inch splash and the 16-inch Ozone crash. Nice
Yeah, they
combination.
work well. I've not seen many people do it. I know that like Sabian have got some fantastic stacks that they recommend when they did the stack summer or for a few years ago, where they introduced like loads of different cool combos. And don't get me wrong, they sounded lovely. But there's just something about this where it's very bright, but doesn't linger for too long. So like the way that it decays is really, really nice. Right. And I end up with a drumstick that's still intact. Mark need to send me more sticks.
I got a question here from Oliver. Basically, what's your favorite cymbal out of all those great sounding cymbals?
Oh, I knew this would come up today, and I can't answer it. Oh, I'll try. Can I have a few?
Sure.
All right. I can actually see it in the comment here as well. Someone's posted it. I really, really, really like the 17-inch AA Holy China that Chad Smith did. I've loved Chad Smith's playing since the beginning. The AA 17-inch Holy China is just incredible, because it's the type of china that you just have to tickle it and it does its job. Sometimes with a lot of chinas, you do have to whack them quite hard to get the full tone out of them. This one next to me here actually is an exception, because that actually opens up really, really nicely. But there's something about the Holy China which is absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to tell you something else about that in a minute when Christian's back. Other than that, like this custom ISO crash, like absolutely dig it. Like I'd recommend people try them. Like get Sabian to make you one. They're so cool. And probably just for like the, what's the word I'm looking for? Just on a historical level, I suppose. I've always really liked the HH Raw Bell Dry Ride in brilliant finish. And the reason I like that is because I grew up listening to a lot of Incubus, and Jose Pacias, who was obviously a Sabian endorser, he has the 21-inch HH Raw Bell Dry Ride, and he's always used it. And that is a lovely cymbal that's absolutely timeless. I know that's been in the catalogue probably since the early 90s, I think, so there's a reason why that one's still around. I couldn't really answer that question, though. They're all good.
Yeah, so many inspiring sounds, definitely.
Yeah, so I was going to say about the Holy China thing then while you're here. So this is my plea to Mark Love, because he needs to try this. You need to try. I don't know if there's some sort of legal reason as to why you can't do this, whether it's like something that Chad Smith has locked in, but it would be so cool to try a Holy China but of HHX. So just darken it up, give it like the natural finish, but have all the holes in it still. Maybe even do like the duo splash type thing where the middle's like really raw. I think that'll sound absolutely amazing. And if they don't make one soon, I'm going to order it.
Definitely sounds interesting. Yeah, gonna make a note of that.
Yeah, literally the Holy China, but that's like a duo splash type thing going on in China format.
Right.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
you know it'll sound good.
So I got one more question here, actually, before we wrap up. Actually,
Yeah.
so who is actually who are your heroes and who you get your inspirations from? Actually,
Okay, so I've been playing drums for about 20 years, which is long enough to amass quite a large amount of heroes, I suppose. But it's the old favourites that I stick with. So I've mentioned a few today. I really like Chad Smith just for his just pure pocket. And yes, he got me into Sabian cymbals. So Californication era, Chad Smith, all over that. That's really, really cool. I'm a big fan of Jose Pasillas from Incubus, particularly around the Make Yourself or Morning View era, which is where the splash cymbals were like really prominent. So that got me into it. We're talking about maybe some like clinician type drummers or the guys out there doing lots of teaching as well as playing. I really like Anika Niles. She is an incredible player. And I've mentioned others as well, Luke Holland, Matt Gasker. These guys are really like pushing what it means to be a drummer in the 21st century. You know, they're not just locked into something like YouTube, or they're not just locked into a studio setting. They're actually making use of the whole spectrum of what it means to be a drummer or a musician in 2020. So there's just a few that I get daily inspiration from.
great, all great names, definitely. Well, thank you, Luis. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. It's great having you back for another lesson.
It's been wonderful. And as I say, I'd encourage people, if you do have further questions, I will keep an eye out. So you're very welcome to reach out to me via social media.
Great.
Anything
So-
you might have.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Stay safe, and hope to see you guys back soon.
All right. Thank you, Sabian, and thank you, Christian, as well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Luis.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.